everyone. Have a sip of water. It's good for the body and the soul. I'm so happy to be with you this Sunday evening. And Jana and Devante, good to see you here already. I'm looking forward to working with Inyak. Like, he's a funny character, and I've been more and more drawn to working with his energy lately. And I don't believe we have had him through in a live stream before, so it's gonna be it's always an exciting experience. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he interacts with the whole setup, and I'm glad you could make it. And just to reiterate, I believe that that the Hucolo live stream will be in 2 weeks, Saturday. That's what they're telling me over there. So sorry for the short notices, but happy to see you. And then also perhaps as people check in, it's good to see you, Fem. I'll just read these thank yous. So to everyone who's donated, to Laurie, to Kevin, to Natalie, who has a cool last name, it says even then, and to Coffee Bean 13, to Remnock, to Carrie, to Hey Jim, to Shyam, to Laura, and to Devante. Thank you, everyone. Like this, it means the world to me that you would part with your precious resources and show your appreciation in that way too. And I do treasure the money literally. So it's wonderful that it's yes, that you would contribute to the cause. So I'm so happy, and I hope to see some exciting questions again as always today. And if you haven't donated, you can of course consider it, but know that you are very welcome, and that with your positive energy is a huge contribution. And also thanks for your comments and likes, your shares, and for subscribing. So I think without further ado, I will bring in our main man Inyak to speak about well, a little of each. Dreamtime and Playtime was the heading he gave me, and I think it's gonna be fun to see what that is supposed to mean. So looking forward to a cozy evening with you, and have fun out there. Yes, and hello, wonderful Earthlings. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you this evening and this day. I am so happy to announce that we from the Yahyel civilization, we are becoming more and more attuned to the particular vibrations of humankind, and you as a species, as a type of frequency beings, you are becoming more and more attuned to our vibration and the vibration of the hybrid races. And that is why we are able to interact far more with you than we already have been. Oh, and this dear channel, he has asked me to also put forward a type of prayer or protection. He has grown quite fond of these types of, you see, protective invocations. And so I would like to offer to you that your star family is with you, protecting you. your guides are with you, protecting you. May the angels be present here, protecting you, watching over this session. May nothing ill befall you as you sit here and wander the astral realms and receive the highest energies streaming from source down into your being. May only good things be received, and may all things that are no longer useful or serving you be released in this. We assure you that it will. I am most happy to be with you. I, Inyak of the Yahyel civilization, I am so happy to be with you this evening in this time that I'm coming through. It is good to let you know that you are becoming more attuned to, well, this different type of experience. And so when I had offered the title of Dreamtime and Playtime, it is the idea that within the Dreamtime, you are in a sense the one playing with the higher self. Within the playtime, that is the time of wakefulness, the higher self is the one playing with you. And so, which experience is the most dreamlike for you? Is it the one where you get to lose yourself in fantastic landscapes and construct symbols and situations, wide ranging expansions of your own fantastic creation in your mind, and then process things through that? Is it the dream that is unreal? Or is it the sense that, well, you go through sequences of timelines, perceiving yourself as a being, as you are exposed to different manifestations of your vibrations and your intentions, of your soul contract, and of the basic curiosity of your higher self? Is that the unreal perspective? Maybe both these are real, and notice that they are playing out at the same time. Even within this physical experience, there is the balance of the non physical, and there is an approximate balance of at least well, 1 to 3. That is to say, that you do spend quite a lot of time sleeping. You do spend quite a lot of time in these unreal fantasy planes where you, the limited self, play with the infinitude and vast, unending potential and manifestation of the higher self. And by that, you are infused with new and high energy. So it is important for you to realize that the playtime is taking place in your waking hours. In that time, as you align and begin to identify yourself with the creator role in both of these aspects, you will become far more used to the idea that, well, you are the creator spirit in both cases. And in both cases, it would be very, very helpful for you then to invest yourself in the idea that this is a type of game that changes with your intention, and that the energies are becoming far more volatile. That is, they are becoming far more responsive in an immediate fashion to your intentions, your manifestations. So the symphony is speeding up, and as the symphony speeds up and the fugue begins to run more wild and unpredictably, well, it also becomes more dependent on the creator, that is the player of the symphony, that is you, to realize that the subtle nuance of what they want to play, it is influencing the whole game. And so, with that, I would like to bring you these inspirational messages and encourage you to see your vast creative potential as you play around with your ideas, your thoughts, your manifestations, whatever you may prefer, as you go in the direction of your excitement. So, this is the blessing I bring to you from me and from the entire Yahyel civilization. And so I bring you and send you my love this evening, dear human beings, and I allow for blessings from your star family, your guides, and your higher selves to flow through me and reach you along with healing starlight and vibrating energy at the frequency of your innermost radiance of your beautiful self. Thank you so much for being here with me, dear ones, beloved humans. Yes, funny guy. And Jana says, good evening today. And Davante says, hello, Mass and Astral Oracles family. Very excited to be here once again. So good to have you guys. And if no one else shows up, then shoot. Then you just have a free range of questions, and we'll of course just keep going for as long as it's relevant. But Jana has a question. And she says, can you share tips how to become aware on a deeper level that everything happens in perfect timing? So I find some relief from pushing and pulling and speculating. Thank you again. Yes, most perfectly. Even this question reaches us in perfect harmony with the place that we are meeting you. That is to say, we always meet you at a perfect place. And so when these counterpart energies they come through, or any of your favorite guides they come through, they are always coming through in a part of their own developmental pattern, that is, say, in the non-physical or the higher frequency ranges. They're always coming through from a place where they are configured with the, let us say, astrological configurations or elements of the situation. And so when this situation is configured in a specific way, it is possible for that voice to enter and then dispense advice, dispense a type of mirroring, a type of connectivity, a type of informational reach out in accordance and harmony with the energies that the moment allows for, in accordance with the configuration of the heavens or the creative space or the framework of consciousness, whatever you might think of. And so you are in a place where you're examining perfect timing exactly because you feel things are a bit out of sorts. And when things are a bit out of sorts, it is usually a sign that, well, you are moving through a period of disintegration. You are moving through a period of, you could call it chaos, but you could also call it expansion. So it's the idea that there is also things that, well, are not already configured into your energy field. And these things, they typically happen with quite a delay compared to, well, where you want them to happen. And the basic reason for this is, and you do know this psychologically, you are aware that it's much easier for you to learn lessons when you are actually challenged. So your mind refuses to learn lessons, and it does so unless it has, well, no better options to rely on. And so what you choose to do in this case, dear one, is that, well, you allow yourself to fall apart, because that is much easier. So you allow yourself to know that, well, the patterns you have been using or following, the strategies you have been using, uh, Well, the way you have been maneuvering or operating through life, well, some of that has not been functional for you, and that does not mean that you have not been functional and not been doing right. It simply means that the moment changes and you change through this succession of moments, and therefore your adjustments also need to differ. And so, the more you allow yourself to not expect anything and to not, well, need to get it all right, the faster you will have the sense that these impulses come to you where you actually perceive what it is you want to do. And there you will be guided to something, because we do see these luminous points down all of your potential timelines where you will be sensing that, well, there was a purpose to the disintegration or the destruction or the chaos that you would be experiencing. So the more you can feed everything that's challenging you to, well, the sacrificial flames in your life or within you or at your navel point, you can approach this in many ways. But it would be helpful to sacrifice it to one of these more maternal forces that also govern the universe. Sacrifice all that doesn't serve you, and then you will see an influx of the new beginning to take shape. So we know that is not, in a sense, in connection directly to the question of timing, but it is what you're looking for, because timing is, in a sense, only the question that you receive what you are supposed to receive at the moment you're supposed to receive it. And the more you rely on this, the more you will come into, well, the experience of it, which will make you question it less. So the less you think about timing, we would say, the more it's a question that the timing is happening, or and that is your experience. So that are some of the perspectives we would share with you on this one, dear one. And I've been so happy to be able to shed some light on this for you. You have our love and you have the blessings of me, Inyak, and also the entire Yahyel civilization. Yes, and Devante asks, how do we transmute perceived negative emotions and thought processes into love? Yes. Oh, this is a very beautiful question, and we thank you for it. Also, because we know that it is something that, well, so many light workers are confronted with. And it is a strange question, because it is an ongoing process, or an ongoing type of growth where you do experience negative emotion as a type of contrast at no matter the level you are at. But you become perhaps less and less identified with a lot of this negative emotion. And then you begin to see it is a part of the whole. And so there could not be these positive expressions, or there could not be beauty if there was not also the absence of beauty or ugliness. We believe it's also sometimes called, or there could not be an experience of love if there was not, well, an experience or the absence of love, or despair, we believe it is sometimes called. So love has many opposites, because love is, in a sense, an experience of totality. And notice that, well, the frequency signature personally is something akin to the idea of belonging or satisfaction, or perhaps satiety. We believe that this vessel has some trouble with the pronunciation, but the idea is that this feeling of being one whole, complete, feeling the sense of explanation, of epiphany. These are all elements in the underlying emotion of love, you could say. And so when you begin to take these negative perceptions, you begin to take these negative elements, and then you piece them into the puzzle that is the entirety of your experience. And you give them a place that's not necessarily too important, but just acknowledging that that too is a part of existence and needs to be there for the entirety to exist. And there you will perhaps begin to then gradually experience how you see things become a greater and greater part of you. And taking something as a part of you is exactly the idea of loving something. So the opposite of loving, you could say, is the idea of the the abject, or that thing which is cast off or thrown away or set aside. And so when you're able to take even things that you despise or that you find abhorrent, and then place them into a position in the framework of total reality, where you are able to accept that this is also going on, the easier you will find it the easier you will find it for yourself to, well, accept that this is a part of the creation of the whole, and this frequency needed to exist in order for all the counter frequencies to also exist. And then you will see that you can also, at this point, align with the gratitude of you then not being in that negative position, not being in that hated position. And so that can be quite helpful, we could say. So when we would say, well, to paint an extreme, it is if you can, in a sense, be very grateful that you were not Adolf Hitler, because that person, he must have had a very tormented time of being a human being in order to be able to go through the experiences he did, and to be able to spread the message that he did. And at the same time, you could say that, well, there is some lawfulness in this person, that he also, well, from the most amoral sense, followed the excitement principle and came into a type of position and role that was created by his higher self, who volunteered to this. So there is both a human layer of analysis where you can be able to say that people are responsible for their actions, and you can pity them for taking or acting so horribly as they may have done in their lifetime, as this individual, this A. Hitler that we're talking about. And then at the same time, you can see that from the perspective of the higher self, everything is unfolding harmonically in the mandala of the perfect cosmic vision and the perfect creation. And in that, even something as negative as these horrible experiences that mankind has been through, of war and genocide and extermination and territorialism and all these horrible things, well, they also serve the purpose of negative experience and propelling you forward into a sensation, an experience, a foundation in greater and greater love and understanding. And that is simply by acknowledging these things, they also become quite harmless, because you understand both their purpose and their impotence. So thank you for allowing us to bring in love and mirror the love that you create here back to you. Our blessings. Yes, and Adelina, Dimitrova. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's beautiful. Good to have you with us. Hello, Inyak. First time in your energy. Do I have a counterpart in your civilization? And if it's so, can you give more information about him, her, and what are creating together? Much love. Well, yes, you do have several hybrid connections here, and therefore we also sense that here is a counterpart coming forward, and the name would perhaps vary depending also on the person it was coming through or whether you establish contact. But the name that he's given to you is Klumon. No, 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 no. He says that's wrong. It's a failure of translation from the vessel. So it's more like Clyde. It's actually it's you could call him by the word Clyde. So that would be like a straight up name that he would like you to have. And so, yes, your friend Clyde from the Yahyel civilization, it's quite a prosaic name, and he is, well, you could say he is kind of like a plumber. And the idea of him being a plumber here, it is we have in a sense moved forward where, well, our digestive processes, they're more attuned to breaking down amino acids in a quite slower digestion rate. So that's to say that well, he doesn't necessarily fix the sewers, but he is someone who figures out ways to create value out of waste. And so the idea is that, well, yes, he finds purposes for waste material, because there's waste material generated any place where there is you could say processing or a transformation of material energy, such as takes place, for instance, in the human digestive system or in other ways of operation and operating these bodies that, well, take in foodstuffs. So that's to say that you will then, your friend Clyde, he can help you. If you want to contact him, well, you can just ask him, say, Clyde, come help me with my trash. And then he will have great ideas for how you can compost your trash, or how you could, for instance, you could grow different types of beans in your coffee grains, or how, what have you. These are things that he would be happy to help you with. But he could also, metaphorically speaking, you can take whatever you feel is not helpful, and then you can call him, and then you can use it to, well, build new units, make it into nourishment in your life. That's something that's helpful, and that's a work you're undertaking. And then we sense you're also getting more and more involved in in the hybrid program work. So, well, you are occasionally going to the ships, and on the ships, well, what you are doing is, in a sense, that you are also, well, trying to compose these melodies. This is on astrally speaking, but you're composing these astral melodies, which sound somewhat like crystal resonance patterns. And these are for the children to remember, and also to shift other beings quicker into multidimensionality. So you have assisted our ascension, and that was quite helpful. I thank you very much for that, I would like to say. So we hope to shed some light on your question, and we do send our love, and I also send the love of your friend Clyde, and he says hi to you, and you have our blessings, dear Adelina. So with that, our love. Grazie, Yael. Yes, I love. Yana says, "I love these words and energy. It's very fatherly and soothing." Grazie, Yael. Yes, thank you. I think it's a very interesting energy. It sits sort of between a lot of the energies that that I usually work with, but he's kind of fun, and I hope you're getting it, that the accent is somewhat consistent, because it's just so it's just so crazy, that Irish accent, which isn't Irish, I know, but okay, back to the questions. And Shayam says, "Greetings, Mass and Inya. Greetings, Shayam. Uh, someone I thought was my partner for life moved on recently. I would love to know when and where I would find my partner, and what I need to do for calling her in." Shayam. Love, it's a tough one. Our sentiments, our human sentiments from me, and then let's see what the aliens say. Oh yes, yes. Don't be sad, our friend. We are also with you in this exploration of, well, partnering in this lifetime. And so the most helpful way you can do this is to, well, grieve your loss, and know that, well, what often has happened in this manifestation is that you have felt this intense connection, and know that you wouldn't have felt this intense connection if it wasn't a pattern that was ingrained within you. So the beauty of what you saw in that person, the beauty of what you saw that person delivering into your life, is something that's already present in your life, my friend. So, well, when you realize that, it's not to say that the idea of the partner loses value, but it is to say that then you begin to teach yourself the sublime value that you have the value of. And we know this is paradoxical, but it is a divine truth that one person has more value than the entire collective of human beings put together. And at the same time, no one is more valuable than anyone else. You are all a cosmic miracle. And so those are some of the perspectives, because, well, we could give you the timeline of, say, 3 years, and then you would be a little frustrated and think, oh, that's long, but I could wait so long. We could also say, well, it would be in 3 months and they would be ready and be prepared. We could also say, keep your eyes open within 3 weeks. So we could even say, well, in days three, all your sorrows will be aware, because someone new will have entered it. But know that if it were within 3 days, you would still manifest the same problems that you are in now. And the same problem is essentially that you need to realize your unworthiness. And so realize there are other timelines playing out with this person with whom, well, you believe to have left you, but you do have a karmic bond. And that also means that you are playing out the relationship experience in in different ways on different timelines. But the both of you have selected on this timeline, well, you have selected that there was something more important for you to do here. And that is a way that you would like to express yourself. So notice that this person will still be with you if it was the most important thing for you to explore. But there is something that tickles your fancy even more. And it's not even necessarily the sadness of experiencing loss and then discovering the fulfillment of your own person. It might be something also about you exploring a certain skill set, a certain set of scrying, a certain type of spiritual expression that you have been longing for discovering. And that, well, once you find yourself in these intimate relationships, you often will lose a bit of your orientation towards. And of course, both things are perfectly fine. Everything is as it should be. But it would be helpful for you to clarify your visions, because then when you abide in your visions and you go towards your highest excitement, then, well, you feel a greater satisfaction with existing. And that is essentially what this is all about. No, it's you moving into more senses of positivity, meaning, connectivity, holistic feelings of well-being. So those are some of the things. And so you can ask yourself, Shayam, my friend, you can ask yourself, when you close your eyes, do you experience then that what you are thinking about, what you are longing for, is it simply female company? And there will be a part of you longing for female company, and that's all right and that's beautiful. But there might also be a part of you who's longing for, well, meaning, exploration, and other geometric realities, such things that you might see are more abstract and are better realized when you dissociate from the world for a while. And so those are some of the things that you could be exploring if you want to explore this pattern. But we are sorry that you are in grief, but know that grief is energetically a very potent state. So when we were speaking about, well, also this creature, this Clyde among us, he's also someone who finds, well, let us say, constructive views for destructive or residue emotion that's generated from, well, the loss of experience or, well, the disappointment of attachment. And so these are emotions you can harvest and then turn them into wonder. Because, for instance, if you were to put them to words or you were to begin to, well, have some poetic experience or expression around it, you would also see it grow into something that would, well, multiply and proliferate in your lifetime and your experience. So you have our deepest sympathies, and you have my love, and you have our blessings. You have everything on this path. Remember, you are everything and you have everything. Much love and much gratitude to you for being here with us this day. And AJ says, good morning, y'all, or afternoon rather. And Devon says, thank you too, and good morning to AJ too. I don't believe I know which time zone you are in, but it's good to have you here. Maybe afternoon rather. I believe maybe it's on the eastern seaboard, I would venture to guess. Good to have you with you wherever you are on the planet. And then AJ asks, I feel like I resonate deeply with the idea of robotics technology, but have a hard time truly feeling like a part of nature when I enter it. I don't feel very connected. What is going on here? Interesting question. Oh yes, it's yes. You see, our dear friend, it's most interesting to be able to share this perspective on it as we read your energy, because we do know that you have been going through some hardships, and we mean this literally. We certainly mean hardships, because we mean that you have been configuring yourself sort of like a hardship. So you have the tendency, we were speaking about the abject, that thing you throw away, but there's the other level, which is the object, which is separating, you could say, parts of you out and then considering them as external or independent of you or your attachment to them, your intentions with them, your experience of them, all these things that actually make up the object, that which is in a sense also a subjective part of you, but a part of you that is, you could say, more gross, and therefore how you have the experience that it exists outside and is also accessible to others in their subjective experience. So without getting, well, too lost in these philosophical depths of epistemology, we would just like to point to the idea that, well, you have the tendency to perceive yourself some as something that is working within an enclosed space and that has certain finite qualities, and that is something that, well, makes you resonate more with the machine like being, the idea that you are in a sense a machine turned on to certain operations that you are asked to carry out. And so the best thing you could do is allow yourself partially to play around and enjoy this machine. So allow yourself to become a type of robot and allow yourself to go beep beep doot doot beep 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 doot, and then actually have certain programming sequences, and then you can imagine yourself as that little voice or that little electric code that's running through programming this type of spaceship that's also running right now. Because in a sense, know that human biology, it is a type of extraterrestrial vessel. So you will actually be able to, as you ascend higher and higher into the dimensions, to still be able to use your body, but to reconfigure it to different density layers, and also then to move into different environments and atmospheres that have been hitherto impossible for you. Though this is not something that is coming around for anyone present in this incarnational experience, that is to say, in your present bodies. But know that magic is not far away in your experience either. And so it's helpful for you to begin to play around with these robotics, because it also means that a lot of your energy, it resonates more back to, we could say, some of the energy is connected to the Antarian system, for instance. So that start of Antares, which is something that, well, there's also machine-like energies relating to that. And those are some of the things that you could be exploring if you would like to, because there's nothing wrong with that. But it's simply to say that, well, you're also a type of hybrid being or one of these precursors. And you sort of have this techno tribe vibe to you, which is quite playful. And it's worth acknowledging that if this is your excitement, there is nothing wrong with that. And it's a good place to explore. And so many others will be called to the more ecological. And that is because they also belong to, let us say, more organic growth patterns in their own soul identification and experience. And so simply play around with this and enjoy it, because it has to do with, well, you also having accumulated some astral trauma and those events that were called the Orion Wars, and having experimented then when becoming, yes, a hardship, a type of galactic mechanical race, a race of robots and the like, and the type of hive consciousness that's connected to that. So now you're experimenting in this lifetime with individuating into a type of organic body and resituating it there. And therefore, you have also chosen to come at this time or this juncture point between, let us say, biological and technological or electronic instinct in humankind. And so you have our love and our blessings. Know that you are on the right path also in this mechanical track. It will take you down the places that you need to examine. So have fun with it. Play around. Remember, it is either Dreamtime where you are inspired or Playtime where you enact. Both things are legitimate. Thank you, dear one, our love. Yes, he's yeah, it's the funniest energy. And Sophia says, Dear Inyak, greetings and love. Would you be able to tell us if the world will solve the energy generation and storage problems soon instead of relying on fossil fuel? Greetings and love. Beautiful question. Yes, our love to you too. Well, notice how fast the implementations of these other systems have actually come about. So let us say, and we know, of course, there were precursor technologies, but let us just roughly say that, well, television came about roughly in the around the year 1950, and in the year of 1980, it was firmly established as a new centerpiece of modern life. Let us say the internet came about in 1990, and then in the year, well, now 2021, it is firmly established as a centerpiece of modern life. And so do not fear that you will be able to will make these infrastructural rollouts quite rapidly. And so, yes, I do foresee that, well, there will be a phasing in period, but within 30 years, we are even dealing with some of the last places in those places that you may consider as more economically struggling or less wealthy in their possessions and other such measures. Well, even those people will have switched away from classic fossil fuels because it will no longer be feasible at that point to get it out of the ground. And there we do see that different types of or ways of commute of replenishing your technologies or your batteries, so to speak, or using your energy resources will take its place. So it will you will begin to experiment around with this before you begin to discover new energetic layers that you can use for infinite energy. But at the moment, what we see happening is, for instance, also that you will then begin to build a civilization that's much more aware of how much energy it actually uses. So, what you have experienced, for instance, in this crisis, I should term it, is also that, well, there was actually a lot of, we would say, inane commuting back and forth, moving yourself as a type of, well, physical luggage back and forward each day using fossil fuels. And if you were to stop was cease with this activity, you would also begin to have new models of when it was actually useful for you to have access to a vehicle and more collective systems of vehicle ownership. So these are some of the perspectives I shared, but we say that even, well, in a decade or so, there will be nations. And as we are coming from you here, we sense that a nation such as the nation of Norway, in approximately 10 years, it would be, well, fossil driven cars will be something that's not sold, but simply maintained as, well, more of a, yes, curiosum or a thing that's, yes, for its affectionate value. So so these are some of the perspectives we see, and we thank you very much for putting that question forward. But keep growing your consciousness about these sustainable systems. Keep growing your consciousness about your own role in having a healthy influence on the planet. And there you will see the change take place rapidly, and notice that it has taken place rapidly, and it's proceeding faster and faster. So with that, I bless you in this endeavor. Know that you are supported in this, and your Earth Mother awaits you moving into a new symbiosis with her. Our deepest love. Thank you. And Robert Hitchcock asks, This is actually Suzanne. Oh, oh yes. Good to have you with us, Suzanne. Um, is there any difference between UL and Yael, or are they the same? Also, would you be able to tell a Yael joke? Much love, and dear regards, Suzanne. Yes, okay, that'll be interesting. Great question. Oh, difference and difference. I do not know about the difference, but we just say about the UEL that they wouldn't wouldn't know their own backside if they were facing the sun to see it. So there is these perspectives of them being a type of offshoot race, but it is approximately it's one of the many experiments. So know that there are, just as we are in a sense also an offshoot race of humankind, there are offshoot races of us, and the UL are a slightly different vibration, but you would consider them very close to us. So you could think of it much as, well, the Neanderthal would perhaps be something that would come close in your experience of something that's, well, humans, but also something else than humans, but in no way inferior to humans. So that is a perspective. And so, yes, of these people, we say that, well, one day a UL man had to marry a Yahyel woman. It was an arranged marriage, and it was arranged so that the two families who had been fighting, they would settle their differences, and they could then share their farmlands prospectively. And so this day, this fortunate day of marriage comes about, and, well, the father of the Yael bride, he gives his daughter's hand to the son of the Uriel patriarch, and then the patriarch says to him, well, I would have hoped for something better if I had to part with one of my testicles. You see, we only have one testicle. That's the joke. So, oh, and I'm asking this channel not to laugh because he thinks it's perhaps not a very good joke. He's informing me, but we can say there's a great book of jokes. There's another one that's going, well, how do you spend a lifetime having fun on planet Earth? It's easy. You stay in orbit. Yes, that's a little joke on your expense, Earthlings. It's the idea that it's actually not very fun down here, so it's much more fun being in orbit. I'm now told and informed by this channel that explaining, having to explain the punchline of a joke takes away a lot of the charm. But say we can make loads of Earthling jokes. We have quite a few of them. So, well, how do you separate an Earthling? Yes, what is this joke? How do you separate an Earthling from Madagascar and Mongolia? Easy. You put them in a classroom and ask them to learn geography. See, that's another joke on the way that humans educate themselves. You are kind of a little silly to us, but you are very dear to us, son. So know that these jokes are communicated and told in love. We would like to remind you of that. Thank you so much. Our love and our blessings. I'll just oh, oh, sorry, Jan. I promise I'll return. I'll return to this too. But is there hope, or am I doomed? I promise you, man. There's hope. Like you're not doomed, no matter what happens. But he'll get back to you, and then because Mr. Jim asks for a general reading. Yes. See, because what we see in your journey where you are right now is that you have walked, in a sense, you have walked across the tightrope of, well, up on top of the, within the circus tent, there's this, it's the tightrope where the ballerina walks, and there, or just maybe it's just called a tightrope walker, but the idea is that this person, you have been there, you had tried to balance these energies and move into a place where you felt more steady, and now what you're looking for is footing. So you want this general footing. You want to put it down, place your feet on that, securely on that pedestal, and then allow yourself to descend and walk calmly on the ground. And that's why what you're looking for, you could say, to explore right now is independence. So you've thrown away this, yes, this type of balancing. Is it called a balancing rod? You are welcome to supply the words, but we do believe that you are getting the idea of this object that, well, that you have been carrying in your hands. And now, when you are rid of this, you can actually begin to spread your arms and do more of these jumping jacks. So start to feel more independent, more free, enjoy your sense of movement. Go on a trip if you can, go on several trips if you can, stay away and sense something new going on and flowing into your life. This is the general reading that we sense there is a type of, let's say, appetite for something novel, something unexpected. And so give yourself the gift of doing something a little crazy, a little out of the ordinary, and that will serve you most well. That will make you happy, we sense, and that will also bring some perspectives about, well, you attracting some, you could say, new experiences that will give you more zest for life, and with more zest for life, more joy for life, you will attract more joyful experience. And so give yourself this gift of dancing around on the ground, knowing it will support you, and flailing your arms, knowing they are free. And that is something that will leave you into greater happiness. That's the reading, the advice that we would like to give you, dear Jim, this day. And so our blessings to you in this movement, this flailing freely, and our deepest love to you from me and the Yahyel civilization. And Jan, yes, asks, hi, is there hope, or am I doomed? Well, we do sense that the question could pertain to several different things, but we sense not that you are doomed at any of them. We do sense that, well, there is perhaps, we wouldn't even necessarily use the term dark times ahead. We would more say that, well, you may know the idea of a system of cabins, or something where you have to swim through certain under underwater passages and find yourself move through this system through, well, different dark caverns until you move into the other side of the mountain. And so you could say that is where you're crossing into. It's something where you're really going into a harder experience to explore, but there's still the option for you to also, well, turn around and make a lighter approach out of this, because, well, you really wanted this crisis. You really wanted this heavy thing to box with. You could say you wanted something to step uh, into the ring with that you felt might almost knock you down. But then notice that this is actually to teach yourself that, well, you are able to circumvent also this. You are able to find meaning and purpose also in this unpleasant experience that, well, has manifested for you. And that is something that would be helpful for you to align with, to go into that place, to know that you are not doomed, that you have the ability to turn this up and side down, that you have the ability to find different perspectives on this, that there will be impulses coming to you to listen, that you can do and follow. There will be the path laid out for you by your highest excitement, by what is calling you, even in this situation. And all your spirit guides are offering you healing, guidance, and support in this. They are there consoling you and allowing you to be held. So open your arms and allow yourself also to be reached by them. Our blessings and our love, dear one. Oh, and yes, and Adelina, as that's, can we ask Clyde? And he says his name was Clyde, so that was the funny thing. So I think it was just like the English boy's name, Clyde. So Clyde. And then positive way of grounded coffee, and it's good for the skin and applications. Yes, I think I want to say perhaps you can turn something out, but I'm sure that's a question, the internet can answer. Like I know it's good uh, for also fertilizing your houseplants, but also I know you have a strong astral connection, so you can reach out and touch faith, as I believe, was it the band with Personal Jesus, they sang, I forget it, Depeche Mode, I think. So okay, back to questions here. So yes, but it's a good use the coffee ground and everything we can for good purposes. And then and Devon says, Adelina, thank you for allowing your session to be shared. And yes, thank you for doing that beautiful session. That was that was wonderful. And if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend it too. And then yes, Laura asks, greetings and love to everyone. Um, and then Laura says, greetings and love to you, Laura. Hello, Enoch. My love and gratitude to you. Is it possible to know more about my lifetime as a seer in the temples of Athens? Oh, yes. It's it certainly is. It's interesting because there's an initiation here where you were brought into scrying at an early age, and so what you could think of it as the oracle session. So there's almost a pain pattern here, because what happens is also that well, for both boys and girls, they're raised in secluded circumstances, and then when they begin to reach puberty, they are brought through these initiatory rituals, and well, through a type of constructed depersonalization, and and there's also like a lot of humiliation and pain going on here, but then there is the inhalation through altars of smoke. Well, it's almost like placing the person, like you're being placed, and the seer, this is happening to you and to other lifetimes, to other generations, in this are being placed, and then under these fumes of nightshade. And it's related to, in Scandinavian it's called allrune. Is it Mandrax or Mandragora or something? This knight's root, this heavy root, but it's one of these types of, it's one of these very types of strong, potent toxins, really deliriums. And so, well, what happens here is then that you bring forward these visions, but you don't remember them yourself. So there's a type of sacrifice here, a visionary sacrifice. And the reason that it's relevant for you to communicate with, or that it's coming forward, is because in this lifetime you're also showing yourself that, well, you can be an integrated healer. You don't necessarily have to be dissociated from yourself or from life to be in spirit. And that's something that's quite powerful and pushing forward into your experience. So in that lifetime you did a lot of good for other people, but you suffered a lot yourself. And so work on integrating that, or better yet, because this sounds like a commandment, but be mindful of not giving yourself the gift of having it as least as much value in your eyes as other people that you interact with and help. And so with that, you have our deepest love and our deepest blessings. Oh, it was like the accent went out there a little while tuning into that. It was a very strong vision, Laura. So definitely something like a deep akashic pattern. That there was like a lot of emotion to it, connected to it too. So definitely something that's worth examining. Oh, I'll just do the second question that popped out here right away. Laura asks, "Is there something specific I need to do to integrate this?" Well, cry a little would be helpful. So if you cry a little in the nighttime sometimes, I know that that's all right, that there are these abandonment issues, which necessarily aren't necessarily as pertinent to this present lifetime experience, but are quite deep because there are, well, have been several instances where you have been brought as a type of, well, sacrifice, or have been removed from your family to play one of these, let us say, more almost ceremonial or conditioned roles. So there are different monastic lifetimes, and again we return to also a Buddhist monastery in Mongolia. Here we are approximately in the 1400s, but we also see a lifetime here as a janissary, and well, here's a Memluk one, rising quite high in the hierarchy of Memluk Egypt, but still having this sorrow of being removed, this type of trauma, of not belonging. And so the more you could say almost meditate on the concept of family and allow this to grow to something expansive, and notice how important you are to so many people, and how much love and connection you give to people by interacting with them. That's a way you can integrate this. Our love and blessings. Okay, I think oh, there were a couple of ones. Yes, David says, "Dearest Inyak, greetings. If you have time, do you have any special messages for me?" Yes, greetings, dear David. It is quite wonderful to be with you again. And it's quite wonderful to just let you know that, well, we sense the energy that you're very much delivering to this creation, but in a sense to the hybrid program which you are involved in is the pilot energy. So there is a type of, let us say, almost taking off that's going on. And so what would be helpful is to think of yourself, as we believe the discipline is called, kite surfing. So if you try to latch on to this upwards momentum that's going through your life, you will be lifted onwards, and you will be carried up through the waves, and you will be able to take off and have a splendid experience of flying and splendid views and enjoying that expansive experience. And that's what we sense would be very helpful for you. That would be very enjoyable for you to move into, the idea that, yes, know that you have that piloting instinct, you have that instinct of taking off, and that needs to be both grounded, but it can also be harnessed by you, well, yes, exactly, parachuting into the future, well, really allowing you to be carried by the winds. And so that's the message we have for you, dearest David. Our deepest love and blessings for you this day. And Jen Jugi asks, "Thank you for being. Thank you for being too, Jen. Um, I am in a change phase. It is difficult at times. Any advice?" Well, yes, the general advice is that, well, know that there is an element of stability in you recognizing that you are in a change phase and that these difficulties are related exactly to changes. That is to say that you are then quite aware that these are passing sensations. And so you are aware also that you are moving into something where these difficulties will seem quite unreal. So that may seem like basic advice, but what you can acknowledge or also recognize from this is that you can interpret the you can interpret the idea that you are. Oh, yes, sorry. It's we sense that the channel because there are children playing around him, so he's in a sense becoming a little distracted. But since there is a meaningfulness in this, because you were asking us about these times of change, I know that when you were a child, you were quite aware that everything was temporary, and so you didn't have any expectations because you had things in front of you that were meaningful for you. And so what you can do, and it's that trick about you, well, not escaping the wonderful present moment by worrying about the future, but actually enriching the wonderful present moment by envisioning your future. And so this is something that you can bring into your experience. It's know that since you are in a time of change, things can and are bound to get better, and when they get better, you will be in situations that will be very magnificent. So this is really the place to, well, ramp up your sense of vision, well, ramp up your idea of what you can be, ramp up your fantasies about what could happen in your life. Because the more you do this at this point, well, the more you are choosing more and more positive timelines, or timelines of more and more positive experience. And that's something that can be very helpful. And then, of course, when you feel that you are being tried, remember to unwind. So allow yourself to not take in information from the outside world. Allow yourself to have a calm glass of water or a cup of tea or something that soothes your nerves. Allow yourself to sit and breathe, or maybe recite a mantra, or read something that soothes you, or anything that's very lo-fi and doesn't stimulate you in any violent way. And then allow yourself to feel this emotion passing through you, or these emotions passing through you. If you need to cry, cry, and relish the fact that this is also an ability you have to shake loose these feelings that are moving you. And this is some of the advice we would give you, because you are indeed changing. And so notice that, of course, the sun is blinding when you're a hatchling coming out of its egg for the first time. And so don't worry, your eyes will get used to it. Our love and our blessings, my love and blessings. Yes, I think we are down to second questions. Perfect. I think yes. Um, Devante asks, "Hello, Inyak. If time permits, are there any messages for me?" Yes, there's the message of tea. Yes. Well, you see, our friend Davante, we are so happy to be able to transmit this message. But the message is again, it's coming forward from the realm of the elves. So it's a happy message of laughter. It's essentially laughter that's being transmitted in 1,000 different frequencies. So and see, and so we also sense just exactly the channel is joining in because it's essentially laughter that's being transmitted to you. It's the deepest message. It's allow yourself for this vibration to shake you free. Allow for silliness to also play a part in your life. Allow for the seriousness, the earnestness of your character to be supplemented with the idea of fun, of well, of the ridiculous, of the sublimely silly and funny that also permeates every layer of existence because it is in a sense the world is a big smile, the cosmos is a smile. It's enjoying the fact that it just told the joke that it can't remember. And so that's the idea of the message that we transmit to you this day, our dear friend, our love and our blessings to you. Thank you. And Sophia asks second question, dear Inyak, do you know why my resting heart rate has been higher than usual in the last week or so? Well, yes, it has to do again with this idea of, well, we believe the term might be sea change. So the idea within your experience that you feel there are several different alternatives, and there is a slight anxiety, or we would say excitement, building up about all these alternatives. But well, since they sort of just trip over each other, you don't necessarily experience it as the idea that, oh, yes, I would really love to explore my career. And since I would really love to explore my career, I'm getting a little excited about it. And therefore, my heart rate may begin to flutter a little more. So instead, you might be having the experience that, oh, well, I don't know what's going on with my heart. And there's also all the stuff that I'm thinking about. But it's actually, well, it's a physiological reminder that these things are things that are, well, in a sense, attracting the vibration of your higher self. These are potential outcomes of a certain significance. And since they are significant, they are actually activating those feelings of, well, excitement, the feeling of gambit, the feeling of expansion, the feeling of, well, really putting it on the line. And that as sensations that you feel that you've been missing in your lifetime. And so that is why you are connecting to this feeling. So advice, and the Yahyel advice here is that maybe do something a little risky. Do something that you feel is a little risky, and that will help you, well, align, let us say, your physical vibration or your physical sensation activity with that increased heart rate, which is signaling an excitement already going on. So you have a love in this exploration of risk, and no, you cannot do anything wrong. It is all just a game, and it is good to play around with your opportunities sometime. So our deepest love and our blessings to you from me, Inyak, and of course from the Yahyel civilization. Ah, where's that? Ah, yes. And Yana asks, can you see in which areas is my discernment strongest? Well, yes, dear Jana. Well, you are strongest in the sense that you are, well, good at aligning at immediate responses. So you are what you would perhaps call clairsentient, or the idea that you are good at detecting with your sensations, where and 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 so you have the very common problem for modern humans that you second guess your sensations with your mind processes. That is, your thinking becomes an obstruction to, well, what you actually know to be true. And so you allow yourself to know these things to be true that you actually know to be true. So when you feel something in your discernment, that is, for instance, if you feel connection to an animal, know that this is a type of sensation that will not mislead you. And you can use then to apply it to other parts in your life. So when you are, for instance, well, deciding what food you want to eat. You can decide actually by vibration. And so if you go with your sensation, you will sense that you will be given the food that will be helpful for you feeling in the way that you actually want to feel in that situation. So try to expand from your sense of emotion, and then you can build from there. That will be helpful for you. We sense, dear one, our love and our blessings to you. And Adelina says, thank you, Davon's here, Mads. And yes, thank you to Adelina. I hope it's okay we didn't ask him the coffee question. But he says just look into it. There's all kinds of things done with coffee, but they don't have it on their planet. So humans would know better. It's uh, no problems with change, Anya. I actually like the orbit joke. Yes, I thought that was a good one too. And okay, I think we are about nearing. It's always in perfect timing. Well, the hour and a half mark, and I think there's also perhaps only a question or two left. So I'll just check to see if we got them all. And okay, I think we'll do, Adelina asked up here, it's the coffee question I've been going around. Can we ask Clyde, how can we use in a positive way the waste of grounded coffee after we drink it instead of throwing it? I know it's very good for the skin. Any other applications? Thank you. And then Jen Dugi asked down here, thank you, very helpful. Can you speak a bit on how the sunlight is affecting my vessel at this time and how to support the body? Yes, dear ones, because see, you could begin to, well, apply coffee to your skin. Oh, I am somewhat joking here, though it would actually be a very helpful method. But what I'm pointing to is that everything that has absorbed different energies, well, these energies you can then use to connect to that frequency. So notice, for instance, that the coffee plant, it grows in the highlands, the tropical highlands of the planet. And those are exactly places that have well, both a very dry and arid air often, but also something that's saturated with sun and UV lighting. And so when you bring the coffee plant into other situations of vibrational realities, it still contains a lot of this. And this is reflected not only in the caffeine molecule, but in many of the terpenes and oils that are unique to the coffee bean. And so you would notice, for instance, that some of the places where coffee is, they drink coffee more than usual, or they do drink a lot of coffee as places like, well, this place, for instance, but also we believe the world record may be in a country such as Finland. And notice that they live in a landscape that has a quite different energy from the energy that's in the tropical highlands where the coffee plant belongs. And so, in their sense, they bring in this more eternal summer, this roasted quality. They bring it into that more frozen, that more frigid element, the baseline energy that uh, the Finnish people they exist in within that core landscape. And so that is to say, when our dear friend, well, so to sum up on that, we would just say that you can play around with these different plants and you can play around with the coffee. You can play around with it fertilizing your other plants. You can play around with, well, using it to then construct other things or dry it and then arrange it, squeeze it into blocks, and you can also use it for different types of aroma therapies. There are different ways that you could play around with this plant, but try to align with the baseline energies of this very powerful and also very benevolent plant, the coffee plant. But then that is to say that it is the same then when our friend Jen, she asked us about, well, how the sun is affecting her, because it's as well, you are not different than the coffee plant in that respect. That what is going on is in a sense that, well, your energies they are aligning with the energies in your environment. And so when more sun is coming into your experience, you are also becoming more energized. And when you become more energized, the processes of your higher self, there's the processes of yourself, they commemorating the great Earth Mother. It can be connecting with your ancestors or your family or a loved one. It can be a lot of these things, but it is always using energy for the purpose of reconnecting rather than expanding and just flowering, we would say. And so remember to find and strike a balance in these frequencies because you are becoming very much attuned not only to your own energies, but to the energies of your environment. And the more you learn to acclimatize yourself, but also to turn these energies into the to assisting the most healthy processes within you, the more help you will have in this. And so the both of you asking these questions, and all of you, you have our love and our blessings in this. And we believe that we will deliver a final benediction and prayer vibration, but we will first open the eyes of the vessel, our dear friend here, and see if there is anything we need to check up on. Oh yes, sorry if it fell out. It says I hope you got I hope you got the most of it. And yes, AJ, I'm a little tired here, so I think we'll have we'll have coffee bean. Oh yes, I think it froze here or something technical happened, and much love to you too, Jennifer. Good to see you. Good to see you here, and. And AJ, yes, I think my plan is I'm going to a different part of the country and, technical differences and stuff. But my plan is next Thursday, I'll be here with a new live stream, and I'll make one. I'll make one now, so you can keep in check. So you can come in with further questions there if you would like. And so other than that, I'll bring in a benediction and a prayer, and thank you again for all the beautiful love that we've shared here tonight. Yes. From the lowest to the most high, from the gross to the subtle, from the separate to the interconnected. All these movements, they are within a beautiful vortex. They are floating within a field, and within this field, you roam, discovering the wide expanses of yourself. You roam, discovering the wide expanses of the horizon, ever changing, ever showing you new colors, new bodies shining down, teaching you their mysteries in whispers of light. Therefore, dear human beings, I eat out of the Yahyel civilization. I have very much enjoyed being with you this day. I will see you again. Know that my collective and we, the Yahyel, we are close to you, and we are working with you to move even closer. Our love, our blessings to you, humankind. Goodbye. Yes. Okay. Have a beautiful, good day and good night, people. And I think the next time I plan it will be this Thursday night. I think 7 o'clock European time. You will be able to see it on the channel page. And I'm not quite sure who it will be, but I think actually maybe Odin actually. So that's the tentative plans. They may change, but I hope to see you there. And thank you so much for being here. It was lovely as always. So however much Sunday you have left, I hope it will serve you well, and I look forward to seeing you next time, guys. So much love out there. Peace and blessings.